Do you want me to kick things off?
Yeah, get cracking.
Cool. So this flow surgery was kind of born out of a podcast that I was on recently, but it kind of made me stop and think a little bit. So this flow surgery is going to be on the tools that I use, or some of the tools that I use to build flows both quickly and effectively. The reason I thought it was good to talk about this, and also, the flow surgery is usually we come with a problem and we solve it as a community. This one being the first one of the year, I wanted to do something slightly different. So instead of us having a problem, maybe we just find some of those key pain points that a lot of us have when building flows. Because no matter what Microsoft tells us, it's not an end user product for the most part. It is somewhere between developer and citizen developer, in my opinion. So I was looking at some of the tools that I use and talked about some of the tools that I use in a recent podcast. And I thought I kind of run through these things and guide this to build flows quickly inside of an hour. But I usually glaze over the fact that I'm using this tool, or I'm using that tool, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that, or this is how I know this. So I kind of thought this might be very beneficial, not just for other people, but also for me as well, because I learned something new recently about some of the tools that I use. So maybe you guys can teach me something new. So what I will do is I will kick off and start sharing my screen. By the way, this is going to be predominantly Dynamics 365, CDS, Dataverse, whatever we call it. It's going to be predominantly that, and those are the sorts of tools that we're going to be showing. It does kind of raise a good point though, and it was something I was thinking about, is are there tools that people use for building flows for other data sources like SharePoint, SQL, not so much, because you got SQL Studio, SQL Management Studio, but things like Excel and Word and all those other connectors. Are there good tools out there that people use? Let me know in the chat, because I would be interested.
It's worth noting as well, just if anybody has any questions, just let us know in the chat, or just jump in. The flow surgery, the format it leaves it open for people just to jump in and shout ideas out. Is that right, Matt?
Absolutely. And if I get something wrong, please correct me, and we can just go back and forth and run through some stuff. So I started to build a flow, and very basic three main components of flows: triggers, list records for Dynamics quite a bit, and create new records. Now, each one of these comes with its own individual challenges. This is because of the way Microsoft built the current environment connector for Dataverse for CDS, and it does kind of present some problems. So one of the first problems that we're going to tackle is the first bit that we were talking about as I came in with Larry, and was it Andy as well? We were talking about OData. So for CDS, the trigger, so the filtering expressions and the filtering attributes, the filtering expression has to be an OData style expression. Now, I don't know about you, but having to learn things like JSON and fetch XML and APIs and everything else, OData is just one more thing that I don't want to have to learn, mainly because I just don't want to learn it. I've got other ways that I can do stuff and build things, so I thought we'd start off with this. So my first tool that I use for doing filtering expressions, and a filtering expression is basically saying only trigger this flow if this filter expression corresponds to true. We're going to use the fetch XML builder. So we're going to be using the fetch XML builder quite a bit in this. So firstly, the Extron toolbox is my go-to toolbox for all fantastic tools for Dynamics, for Dataverse. And in here we have the fetch XML builder. Fetch XML Builder is a fantastic tool created by Jonas Rapp. He's also had other people like Mark Carrington. I think Lynn was a contributor to this at one point as well. But what it does is it can create you fetch XML queries. Fetch XML is the kind of proprietary XML language that Microsoft use under the hood. So every time you build an advanced find, every time you build a view, what that's actually doing in the background is that's creating fetch XML. Now, I had a discussion with Jonas about this, about whether when you create fetch XML, how it converts that to a query that the database understands, whether it converts it to OData first and then converts it to SQL, or whether it just straight converts it to SQL. We kind of think the latter, so that's why we're going to go with this. So if you've never used the Fetch XML builder before, the Fetch XML builder allows you to build Fetch XML queries. Fetch XML queries is kind of a little bit like an advanced find in terms of we're building that same query language underneath. But it gives you a slightly different interface, and it gives you a few other attributes that you don't get inside of Dynamics. I see a question. Can you connect the Fetch XML builder to Dataverse for Teams? I thought about this one earlier today. Dataverse for Teams doesn't provide API support, so I'm guessing it doesn't. But if anyone's got
so you might know a secret.
Yeah, well, the person to find out secrets is usually Matt Beard, because he usually just rips things apart. He's already gotten into the solution exporter for Dataverse for Teams before it was actually released. So he's usually the good one to find these things, but I don't believe so because it doesn't provide API support. But great question. And if I'm wrong, let me know. So what we can do here is we can choose the entity from this list of entities in the system. So we'll choose account, for instance. And what we'll notice is as we're going through adding things, it builds up this fetch query for us. So when I first started using the Fetch XML builder, I really struggled a little bit because I'm so used to building advanced finds. To come to here and build things was kind of a little bit daunting. We just kind of need to feel your way around and kind of look at the things that we've got here. So some of the attributes, some of the things that we can do here are select the attributes. So the attributes being the column names for things. So we have select attributes, so we can select specific ones that we want to pull out, where we can choose it in here. We also have a filter, so we can add a filter in here. So these are your conditions. So we want to find all accounts with a phone number, for instance. So let's do that. So the first thing that I kind of mentioned to Jonas recently about this was it shows you everything with the schema name. Now the schema name is really useful because as most of us come from a Dynamics world, we'll know that the schema name is the identifier. It's the thing that will help us figure this out. But the problem is when you are actually in a system, you'll usually have a bunch of windows open. So you'll have the form open, you'll have your flow open, you may have a Power Apps, make.powerapps.com window open, and then you have to find a solution that may contain the right fields, and then you have to go into the designer, but then the new designer doesn't actually show you the schema names anymore, so you have to go into the old designer, or you need to hope that that solution contains those fields, or you need to go into the default solution. All that is a lot of work. Like, all I want to do is I just want to find out what the schema name is for a field, for instance. Now I mentioned this to Jonas recently, and Jonas said you can. There is an ability to change from schema names to label names. It is an option that you need to turn on. It is up here, friendly names, Control and F, that you need to turn on. But once you turn that on, all the attributes will be friendly names. So that's actually really useful. I never knew that before, and you can, as Rob said, you can toggle it with Control and F to switch back and forth. So I can choose anything with an email, and we can say anything where an email is not null. And as I build this up, it'll start to create my filter conditions for me, and I can say, right, okay, I want where email address is not null, but then maybe I want another condition. So I can click on filter, and I can come back, and I can click another condition, and I can say, actually, I want this, but I also want where phone number, address one, no, not that one, address, no, I don't want business phone. See, this is the thing of I just want anything main phone, maybe. There we go, main phone. We maybe want that one where that's not null as well. And I can start building up this query. Now, as we know with fetch XML through advanced finds, we actually do have the ability to do and or operators, so we can group these things together. Inherently, everything's an and, so we can see this as an and, but we do have this option for and or. And if I wanted to, I can add another filter in, and this other filter will be an or filter inside of this and filter. So I can, again, build up this conditional logic like we would do in advanced finds, and we can build something in here. And again, I can choose maybe account number, again, not null, just for argument's sake. And I can build up all these things. Now, I want to run my flow against this. So I want to find all accounts. I only want to trigger on accounts where the email address is not null, where the telephone address is not null, the telephone is not null, and where the account number is not null. Those are the only conditions that I want to do this. Now, instead of me having to figure out how to write, instead of me having to figure out how to write this in OData, Jonas added a handy button up here for view and power automate parameters, which obviously appears in my other screen. There we go. Okay, so he gives us these different parameters. So we do have select. So that's if we want to add in specific attributes. So we only want to bring back certain fields in our query, which is always handy. There is an aggregate transformation where we can actually use aggregated functions to count things on records, which is super useful. But this filter query is the thing that I really care about at the moment. And again, we have order by, we have top count we can click in, and we also have expand query if we are going to be doing things in slightly expanding the query. So this used to be used for the old list records action or the old get records action, but it's still kind of useful. So this is my OData query. Stored. Thanks, Nigel. But I can click into this query and I can copy that out to my dashboard, and then I can just go back to my clipboard. I can go back here and I can just paste it in there. No need to learn OData, and I appreciate this is only a simple query, but when you get really complex queries, trying to figure out the OData, especially with like linked entities and things like that, it's kind of difficult. So it's much easier for me to just go to Power Automate to view those Power Automate parameters and to get that filtering expression straight out. So that's nice and simple. We put it in there and away we go. Now, the other thing about the Fetch XML Builder, if you didn't know, is that it does connect directly to your system, which means that if you are more comfortable building your Fetch XML in Advanced Find, so building your queries in Advanced Find for what parameters you need, you can do that, and then you can go up to Open, and you can open View. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, no, I didn't want to save it. Let's just hit it. And then click Open View. And then we can search through again for any of our entities in here. And again, we'll just choose accounts. And when we choose accounts, we get a list of all the system views as well as the personal views that I've got in the system. So it works on system views as well as personal views. So again, if you are more used to building things in advanced finds, which I know a lot of people probably are, you can absolutely do that, but then you can actually bring it in here and do some other cool stuff as well. So one example, for instance, is if I go back up to this top level of the Fetch XML, we get these additional options down here. So the first thing I usually do is just take off the top count, because I always want to bring back everything. But there is a distinct option. So the distinct option actually will only bring you back a unique list of records, meaning that if something is in the system or like twice, and it's counted twice as part of this, it will only bring back one of those records. Don't ask me how that works. I don't know, but I've been using it recently because I've been building. I was listing contacts against a list of like sub-entities, and I wanted to bring back a distinct list of contacts and not list the same contact twice because I was trying to add it onto an appointment. So distinct is actually really useful when you want to trim that down and make sure you only get those records once, which is really useful. So you can build all this in here, and the great thing of this, and going on to the next point, is for list records, we do get different options. So we do get the ability to filter a list record by OData, but we also get the ability to use fetch.xml. And fetch.xml is not going anywhere. Do not let people scare you. But you can use OData if you want to learn OData, or you can just use fetch.xml. So this was added in when the current environment connector came out, and it's really great. You can just copy and paste your fetch.xml from the fetch.xml builder straight into here. And again, if you're more used to using just advanced finds, that's absolutely okay. There is a button on advanced find. I'm going to try to open it now, and it'll take 10 minutes to open an advanced find for download your fetch.xml. So again, whatever queries you're making in your advanced finds, you can just go and pull out the data from advanced finds and paste it into here, and you're good to go.
And you can include all of you include the fetch tags as well.
Yeah, fetch tags as well. Just exactly as the fetch looks here, exactly as the fetch looks here, exactly as the fetch looks in when you download it from an advanced find. The only thing you need to be aware of is don't open it in like Windows, in like Internet Explorer. Just open it in a notepad, and it will be fine. That'll take
me there, Matt, as well. When you do the list and fetch.xml builder, one of the things that you can do is all the inner outer joins and all that you can't do in an advanced find, and then you can paste that straight into the list query and pull back 2 and 3 different entities worth of data in the JSON, which can save you a couple of list queries. It's quite nice.
Absolutely. So yeah, you can completely query other entities as well, and bring that back. Now, trying to pull back those other entities is doable in OData, but not easy. I have this ongoing argument with my boss about OData versus fetch.xml. I'm currently winning, but we can always tell who builds what flows because his has OData queries and mine have fetch.xml queries, which is annoying. So yes, we do have that option. Now, go back here. Yeah, there we go. So there is this download fetch.xml button. So you can click download. It'll save as an XML file, and you can open it in whichever browser that you want. I said just a text one. Show folder.
Note as well, Matt, that you need to include your columns.
Yeah. So yeah. So there we go. That's just the whole fetch, just copy and paste it in. But yeah, as Paddy said, you can specify your columns in here as well. So you can select your attributes either in the fetch.xml builder or in your advanced finds. And again, you can pull those out and it'll pull back those columns as well. If you don't specify columns, it'll just bring back all of them by default. But if you only want to query a certain number of them, I think you can just put it in the fetch and it'll just bring back those. But you do also have select query for that as well. And I believe you can use a combination of the different queries in here to pull back certain things. I can't remember if fetch.xml and select query works. Order by, you don't need the OData there because you can specify it in here as well. Going back to one of our first points though about the whole friendly list name. So before I had this friendly list name of all the fields in here, one other tool that I would use, and probably another good thing for everyone's toolbox, is Level Up for Chrome and for Edge Chromium. So Level Up is a fantastic tool. I think it's by, is it Natraj in Australia? He built this tool, this Chrome add-in that allows you to do certain things inside Dynamics. And the things I tend to use this for are things like logical names. So you click logical names, and what it will do is it will add the logical name to above the label on the form. So you can see that name is not actually account name, it is name as a logical name. So again, in my fetch XML build, I can come in here and I can type in name, and it's trying to know what field I'm talking about, which is fantastic. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. But it also does have a few other good features. God mode is what everyone's saying in the chat. Yeah, God mode is great. But there's some great tools as well. Like, don't just look at God mode, guys. There is more to it. You can also clear the logical names. It's always good. Another one I really like: show option set values. This gives you a list of all of the option set schema names, all of the labels, and all of the values for all of the labels. So when you do an advanced find and you actually want to run it on an option set, so is it industry code? Industry code. For industry code, because this is an option set, you have a bunch of different options. Now you could go through and you could say, right, okay, I want all of the options, and you could create, I want it where it is brokers, or I want it where it is this or this or this, and you could create multiple lines doing that. But there is an in operator in fetch XML. Now the in operator allows you to specify values in a pick list that are comma separated, and it'll put it in its own little subnode and it'll query that. But the problem is that now that I'm in here, I don't know what those values are. Again, Nataraj's tool is going to give me all the values, so I can say, right, okay, I want to run this query on accounting, on brokers, and on consumer services. So back in my fetch XML builder, I can say 1, 4, 8, for instance. And as I move out of there, it's going to create this for me automatically. Again, if you're more familiar with advanced finds and building it that way, absolutely fine. You can just download the fetch XML from there, or you can save it and you can come in here and edit it as well. But it's going to give you those options, and that's why again, the level up tool is really useful, because we can see those values. The other one that I really like in level up as well is all fields. If I can find it, all fields. This literally gives you a list of all of the fields and all of the values. So again, we're kind of used to having secret tabs on records, or using views to then see values that aren't on forms. All fields will show you everything that's not just on the form, but on the record itself. So any fields that aren't shown on the form, you can just search through in here and you can find them from the search, and it'll give you the name of them, and it'll give you all of the values that they are there as well. So that's really useful, especially if you're updating a flow that may want to change a secure field and you don't have that secure field on your form, again, for security reasons. So you can use this to find the value of those fields and then make sure that your flow is updating them. So that's a really useful option for me. I can see Rob's astounded by all these other options in Level Up. There are so many options in Level Up that people just don't use. Refresh all subgrids, toggle all the tabs. It's not that useful anymore. Refresh and also save off. So yeah, there's some other good ones. There's navigation ones as well, which is cool. And again, the record ID is another one that I use quite a bit. You'll probably see me use it in a lot of my demos where I go, right, okay, I want this record ID. Now, we used to be able to like figure it out from the big URL at the top, which is fine. You can still do that. But now you have to contend with the fact that we've got the app ID in there first. And then it says, okay, what are the records? The entity record is account. It's an entity record, not a table record. Right, and then it's this. Then we've got the set query account is this. So which one of these like 10 GUIDs or 4 GUIDs is the right one? So again, the record ID function in Level Up, you can click it, it'll copy the record ID to your clipboard, and then you can come in to your flow and go, right, okay, I want where this equals this value. So if I use like a get records action, for instance, it's the only one I didn't have on here, get record, and choose account, and then I can just paste that. Paste that into there. Now, again, that's really useful for testing. So when you're building your flows, you may not want to have to create multiple records all the time to then trigger something. So it's actually a good idea that if you want to trigger something multiple times, you could just have your one demo record, hard code that value in as you're building, and then you always know that it's going to build on top of that record. So trying to use that record to then look up or do something. So again, another really useful tip to try and do something. Now, so those are my hot tips for using Level Up, which I think are great. Yeah, Godmo is really great as well. But the other ones, the logical names, the record ID, the show option set values, and the clear logical names in all fields, they're really useful for building flows because you can see all this data and you have all this easy access to things. That's not to say that using Jonas's tool to then switch between friendly names and schema names isn't great still. I still appreciate that, but there are some times that you just want a excuse me, you just want to look at the form, go right, it's that field. Okay, that's the right one. Okay, cool. Next, how many of you have tried to create a new record in a flow for Dynamics and you've gone, okay, I want to set the lookup. How on earth do I write a lookup? How on earth do I write a lookup? So we've got, where is it? Company name, company accounts, yeah, that one. So in the old connector, we had the ability to just paste in a GUID. Now we don't have the ability to just paste in a GUID. Now we have to write a little bit of code to set this lookup. It's to do with the way that this connector works with the API is what I've been led to believe. But we essentially need to give the entity set name and then in brackets the GUID. So we're going to write the entity set name in here and then the GUID. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't really know what the entity set name is. Now, it's not the plural name. It's not the schema name. It's not. It's like it's some weird combination of all of these, but never fear. The XRM toolbox is here. So this is a great tip that I got from Sarah Lagerquist. She told me about the metadata browser, which is a tool by Tangi. And what it does is it loads up all the metadata from the system. And one of the options in this list is entity set name. So entity set name, that one. I didn't mean to click it. Hold on, let's just take this list down a little bit. Might load better then. So entity set name, I can highlight account here and I can scroll across and I can find that the entity set name is accounts, lowercase with an S on the end. Now that's fine if you're just using an out-of-the-box one, but what if we're using something that may have a custom lookup? And this is the part where I kind of wish I remembered, but we'll just type in Matt underscore. Here we go. I've got loads of stuff in here. Santa list. There we go. Matt underscore Santa list is a custom entity, and we'll scroll across, and it's called Matt Santa lists. And you can kind of see that it kind of looks like the plural name, but might not be the plural name, and therefore we have this. So yeah, a really handy thing. And I can just say, okay, it's Matt Santa lists, and I can put that in here, and I can then go ahead and go, Matt underscore Santa lists. And then I can paste in the GUID and stuff like that, which again is really useful, that I no longer have to guess and put in 4 different combinations of the same entity name to try and get the right entity name. I'm just seeing Ivan's message there. Customer regarding an activity party fields are a pain in the ass when used in Flow. Absolutely feel you there, Ivan. The customer one is super annoying because what you essentially have to do is you have to have an if statement in there to say if the record type is an account, put the druid in here, and then in the contacts one, because it has it as two separate lists, as you can see here. We have a parent account and a parent contact. That's the same for customer fields. Regarding, again, is a pain because, again, it's like 10 different fields, and again, you have to put in those sorts of things. And these things only really work at certain points as well. Again, Limois has a great article about the limitations of this. He wrote about the different mechanisms you can do to update records and create records, and there's some things you can do at create, some things you can't do at create. Party fields are not actually too bad because you can use variables to append to a party list and collect data up. And again, Lynn's just created a great article about how to add people dynamically onto appointments by creating the party list. So I highly recommend you go check that one out. If anyone has a link to that article, it's really useful to understand party lists and things like that and how you can generate them in flows. So those are some of the best tools that I use. So the metadata browser, I tend to only use for this. I know it does have other options. I think you can see, again, option set values and things like that in here. But I think that's really useful to be able to figure out what that name is so that we can go ahead and create that lookup and populate that lookup. So really useful in that regard. The last one that I wanted to talk about is more one for documentation rather than building flows. So documentation, I don't think anyone really likes documentation. I don't think the people that request documentation like it. People that write it don't like it. The people that have to check it don't like it. It's just super not useful. Well, no, it is useful, but no one enjoys it. It's not the fun bit of the job. So yeah, that's the one, Ivan. Yeah, it's an awesome article. Lynn, by the way, who I'm not sure is here. He is doing a tool LDR. Where he's reviewing every single tool in the XRM toolbox daily and posting it on his blog. So he's going through what each tool does, documenting its positives and its negatives, saying how you can use it in conjunction with something else. And it's something that I'm reading daily because it is so useful. So please go check out Lynn's blog. It's amazing, and he's doing this awesome tool LDR at the moment. Sorry, back to this. So the other one I was trying to show you was just, and again, this was just more around the idea of needing to document certain things, not necessarily for building, but there is the do I have it installed? That's the other thing. There we go. The Flow Visio Builder. Oh, I didn't update it. Damn it. Trucky's gonna see this. Let's not tell him that I hit no, don't update now. So what this is this is a awesome tool made by Carl Tricky Cookson. He built this tool to allow you to build and create Visio diagrams straight from your flows. So you can create all of your flows, and then when your boss comes to you and says, hey, where's the documentation for what this flow does? You can go, just look over there. There's a bird out there. And you can quickly come in here and then go generate your Flow Visio diagram from here. So all it does, let's try and find something that may have a couple of things in. I can't actually remember what my most complex size. There we go. Random Santa's list, get naughty and nice random presents. All we'll do is we'll just select this one. Select this one. Can I select this one? Yeah, it's that one. We have to generate a file, so we'll call this the name of the flow, Santa's list, get random presents, hit save. And I can hit create Visio, Visio generate file actions, Cool. Now I do need to go to this location. Should be, just bear with me. Too many bears. So it's see customer content. Sans list your own presence. So it'll generate and save that Visio document, and that Visio document will document that flow. So here it is. We'll make it a little bit bigger so we can see stuff. Zoom this out here, zoom this in. So this was a flow that I built, and I can actually go and open this flow and show you what it does as well. Let's hit solutions. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't really need to save it. So let's go here and we will take a look. Okay, while that's having a think about stuff, let's look at this. So this tool documents everything for you in Visio. So we have the trigger. The trigger is a flow button trigger. We can see a little symbol here. We've got the steamer. So it's actually going to give me the steamer that's in the trigger as well. So again, if you have filtering triggering actions or filtering triggering expressions, it'll show you in here, which is really cool. Then we go and get a record in here. Then we have some fetch XML, and again, we can move all these things around. This is just a Visio document at the end of the day. We can move all this stuff around, and we can see the whole fetch XML fully documented in here. So no need to store this somewhere in case it gets deleted. We've got this right here. We then have a compose action here that, again, we can see what the value is of that compose action. So this is saying from the body get list, which is get records, which is this one. We're going to take the value. We'll then do a random. We'll look from 0 to the length of the outputs. So it's basically just saying find how many records were created, and then give me a random number between 0 where we start and the number of records, and then return that name, and then we're going to update a record with that in there. So this was a way for me to randomly generate a Secret Santa list. Was the idea of the flow. Should do it in here. Wow, this is slow tonight. Right, random get random present ideas, I think it was. I should have chosen the other one, really. The other one's probably a good one to show you. But we can see that this flow, once it loads, is going to be pretty similar to what we just saw in the Visio. Should be identical. So yeah, we just got all these 5 actions in here. If I go back and show you the other one a second, which I think is naughty or nice, I think this is a better one to show you. We'll close Visio down. Close that down, don't save. So yeah, this one shows this. We've got a loop, we've got conditions in here. So what I'll do is I'll just run it on this one, which is the naughty and nice one. Again, I'll just overwrite the same thing, override the file. It's fine, it's got 14 actions this time. And it generates it, and it'll be pretty banging. I'm just saying. So yeah, we've got a variable in this one, then we've got get record list actions, and we've got apply to each. So again, we can kind of see this. We've got a yes, no, we've got end if nice, we've got an apply, the end of the apply to each here, and then we've got compose actions and stuff. So that's a really fantastic tool, and that's going to save me loads of time building Visio documents myself, because again, nobody likes doing documentation. I may build first and then show you a prototype and then go, hey, do you like it? You know, that sort of a guy. So I can build this quickly and easily, and more easily than I can if I was having to build this myself. It's going to document everything for me. It's going to give me the fetch XML inside here. It's going to give me the formulas inside here. It's going to give me everything that I need straight inside here, fully document, and I can then save this and then embed that into a technical architecture document to say, this is the architecture of the flows, here it is. And then at any point someone wants to go back and refer to what we built against, we can just go in here and look through the flow steps instead of having to go and find the flow in the environment and stuff like that. So that's it. Those are the best tools, or the tools that I use on a near daily basis. I have like 4 or 5 Fetch XML windows open most of the time. I use Level Up most of the time. I use this for when I need to document something. And again, I use the metadata builder, metadata browser all of the time to find out those things.